The best work is invisible. The client doesn't see the things that go on behind the scenes, the HVAC not working or the back of house issues, but it has to run smoothly all the time. And it sounds great, and anyone would say, well, of course that's obvious, but how do you make it happen?
Yeah.
That is the key. So can you elaborate on how that works in your world?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of qualified professionals. We have a lot of podiatrists who really lead the business. And by leading the business, they really lead the training aspect. It means that all elements of the business are elevated based on our podiatry expertise, which means that when it comes to the individual staff that are providing treatments, the fact that they have been really well trained and that they have the background knowledge in medical foot care or health for the feet makes a really big difference. However, of course, it's all got to be in the training. So your staff have to buy into what you're doing. They have to believe in what you're doing. And I think that is key. I think for us, there are so many elements. You know, when you're a service business, it's a very different thing to being just a retail business. So you're going to have those days where people phone in sick, that people are not available, where there are different issues. You can't use the treatment room that was set up to be used. So you have to be reactive at those times. But I think that it's very, very important that beyond being reactive, that it's all in the preparation. And I think that's something that's key for me.
There's a lot of moving parts delivering a beauty service. And, from the client discovering you on the website to phoning or making the appointment to arriving, checking in, meeting the therapist, so many opportunities for things to go wrong. How do you ensure that doesn't happen? Like, what kind of steps can a business take to make sure it always runs smoothly?
So we always strive for operational excellence in everything we do. But I really believe it's all about customer service. And that's something, we're not selling to a customer. We're providing customer service that it is going to be a problem-solving solution to something that they're looking for. We don't push people through the door. They openly walk into our clinic. So for me, providing it from the moment somebody walks in the door, or maybe when they telephone, and how you address them on the telephone, all the way through. I often say to my teams, if customers have a really great experience before they walk in, they're going to be really forgiving. If something slightly goes wrong when they walk, they're not going to jump on it. However, if they've had a really difficult time getting to that point, they're much more likely to be dissatisfied, and you have to work a lot harder. But for me, it's in customer service. So whether that is for somebody picking up the phone, whether it's for the look and feel of the space, the meeting and greeting, and how you look after your customer. So forget the word sales. For me, it's all about customer service.
So I guess that happens in training. I mean, how you drive that home, the importance of that. Because you're right, people walk in of their own volition. They're not forced to come in. And if they come in primed in a happy way, you're absolutely correct. They're going to be more forgiving.
Yeah, so it definitely is training. And you say, how do you make that happen? I think ensuring that everybody in our business understands our values, our mission, our vision, and they can go along with it. And that means, who were we at the very beginning? What do we represent? What are we looking to achieve? I think that's very important. But alongside that, operationally, we have great booking systems, but make sure everybody laughs at me when I talk about belts and braces. We want to make sure that we are sending SMS messages and emails and telephoning where possible to make sure that people really know where they're coming and what time they're due. I think that's really important. And also we have the other operating systems, such as, we have not only the booking systems, but also the product systems where you make sure that your products are in the warehouse, that they're being delivered, that's all kind of automated. So the other thing I say, do you think that the manager of McDonald's decides how many slices of cheese he's having in his branch this week? Of course he doesn't. It's all science. So we make sure that all things like that are automated. So what we sell in retail, we know that needs replenishing, and what we're using it in services, that is automated in that, we use 1 or 2 ounces of a product and we perform 100 treatments. We know what that looks like. So the replenishment, so we make sure that we take the stresses out of it.
Margaret, you didn't start out with all of these branches, right? I mean, how did you begin in business?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So I started out doing medical podiatry in consulting rooms. I produced a protocol based on what I really wanted my feet to look like. Traditionally, a podiatrist will cure an ailment, a pedicurist will beautify. And I really saw the benefit of marrying those two up because I knew how I wanted my feet to look as well as how I wanted them to feel. So I first of all set up treatment protocols. And then while seeing patients, they would ask me what they could use on hard skin on the feet, cracks in the skin, discoloured nails. And it became really apparent to me that beauty products didn't work on a treatment level. Treatment remedies were often unpleasant to use. So I started out by just sourcing ingredients from around the world. Of course, I did a lot of research. I chose my ingredients really wisely based on what it was I was looking to achieve and what problem we were looking to solve. I created formulas that I worked with pharmacists and pharmaceutical companies, created formulas. And then once I started using them in clinic, people were asking to use them. I was approached by Harrods and asked would I launch my product range there. And I didn't plan.
They approached you?
They did approach me, yeah, which was wonderful, and they asked me to open a clinic there. And we started off with the feet. Then it became apparent that people were saying to me, what a shame you don't do manicures. What a shame you don't paint our nails afterwards. It became really obvious to me that we should bring in beauticians, and at the same time, I should really formulate for products for the hands and the nails because everybody was complaining about their aging hands. And then my leg care range came about as a result of patients. I'm doing people's feet, they're complaining about swollen feet, swollen legs. And so, I sourced, again, worked with phlebologists who are medical specialists for the venous system and created a formulation with a trademarked ingredient that was really targeting tight, heavy, uncomfortable legs, puffiness of the legs, and also kind of restless legs and wiggly legs. It was great for anybody that was having kind of overheating issues. So it all come about really being dedicated to professional formulas that are really going to work. And that's been, I think authenticity is really key here.
So you were able to sort of, as you grew, create that invisible structure behind that helped propel the business forward, like having protocols.
Yeah, indeed. I think that people understanding and the system and everything taking place, I think it's really important. And the invisible side of it comes by ensuring that you're behind the scenes with your team. Often people talk about what is a great leader. And, the big word that comes up, it's a visionary. I've stepped back from that, and I think a great leader is someone that in times of trouble and times of stress, you're that strength for your team. And I think that that really showcases me and what I am. Also, I've got a real sense of, I think it's really key to a successful business. I listen to everybody. I make my own decisions, but I'm really great at listening to everybody. And, I might start off with a great idea. Just because it's my idea doesn't mean it's the best idea. But actually, people around me might add bits and pieces to it. And suddenly you've got a formula from these different things that have been said to actually come up with what becomes a better idea. So I think the invisible is the strength and holding everybody up behind the scenes.